What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Josh in Recovery live stream podcast, whatever you want to call it. This is the very first stream here on this channel. I'm going to be talking tonight with a friend of mine named Keith, who I met at what I consider my home group NA meeting. Super cool guy. We connected over media stuff, podcasting, all that kind of stuff. So I figured he'd be a great guy to have on. So yeah, without much further ado, we've got 4 people watching right now. I know we've got Missouri Survival in the house. What's up, man? We got SOF Industries. What's up? We got DJ the Metalhead Mercenary. Who else is here? If you're here, go ahead and drop a comment. Say hello. So yeah, we're going to be talking tonight about recovery. I am new to recovery. I am a newcomer. I recently this year developed, and I'll go more into this as we're talking, but I think I've been an addict for a long time, but I was addicted to more compulsive behaviors and like women and love, sex, relationships, all that kind of stuff. And it progressed into substances when I got reintroduced to a substance that I had previously dabbled around with in my 20s. But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to bring in our co-host tonight and my friend Keith. What is up, Keith? How you doing?
Good, sir. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm stoked we're doing this.
Yeah.
Let's if you don't mind, will you start out and kind of give us the nutshell version of your story and how you got into recovery, and then I'll give mine?
Yeah. So I come from a family that has a lot of alcoholics. I've been around a lot of substance abuse and a lot of addicts in the past. Just growing up and just, friends that had the addiction bug, because that's kind of what it is. It's kind of, it's a disease, but some people can get better than others faster. Some people can leave it alone. Some people can't. I I was like most kids. I started drinking a little bit in high school and partying a little bit. Did a little bit of dealing back in the day of some pretty crazy stuff, but never got too far into it. And then college was kind of the same thing. Partied a little bit, probably more than I should have. In my 20s, I definitely kind of hit it hard. I was in a business that drinking culture was a huge thing. Doing cocaine was a massive part of it. And I was able to kind of leave that behind and just kept drinking a lot and things like that.
What's up, Trey?
Did a lot of pot smoking, which, that was just sort of what everybody in Oklahoma did. And then I really started a spiral when I was probably 25 to probably 34. I had a lot of losses as far as like friends, family. I lost a parent, I've lost grandparents, and and then the last few years, I was after COVID, I kind of had a mental breakdown during COVID, kind of got myself in a little bit of trouble, and it caught up to me probably a year and a half ago. And had to spend some time in jail, and then had to basically get out and start all over. And a lot of the circumstances was honestly, I had a parent that I lived with still, and just toxic, just real, likes to stir the pot, but likes to blame other people for it. So a big narcissist. And, it was kind of a codependent relationship. And then by the time I kind of got away from her and realized, I was like, oh, like 85% of me drinking and doing what I was doing was because of her. It was because of the rifts we had. And there's a lot of how do I say this? A lot of conversations that didn't happen about a lot of underlying things. And that led me to really just kind of deal with it by trying to stay numb all the time and just trying to escape the reality I was in. And, I got out of jail May of last year. Went straight into recovery, sober living house, which I'm in right now. It's called Oxford. It's great. I've been here since May. I'm actually the longest running guy in my house right now. I've been here longer than anybody. And I've actually watched a lot of guys leave that had been here for a long time. I'd say 18 months or more. And out of, I'd say six of them, only one of them was able to actually be on their own and stay clean and still goes to meetings. All of them at some point relapsed or had something happen to where they went back out. Now, some of them got it under control again, but a lot of them either are back in sober living, or they're going to meetings again and trying to do it, the right way. um, for me, it's not the longest I've been sober because it was kind of forced on me when I got out of jail, but it's been probably one of the better things for me because this time it's actually for a purpose rather than just sort of doing it because people around me want me to do it.
Yeah.
This time I want to do it for myself. I kind of enjoy the way I feel. I mean, I was drinking so much that, I mean, there were weeks that I just woke up every day feeling like shit, and then I'd start drinking again because that's the only thing that's going to stop the bad feeling.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even drinking with people. It was drinking alone. It was drinking in the dark in your room by yourself, listening to music, or just having the TV on and just drowning myself in whiskey. And what I've learned on this journey of mine so far is, like, I mean, I was in AA years ago. I've been to NA for friends, but I've never really participated in taking it seriously. But this time is different because it's like, I'm close to 40, and that, it takes a bigger toll on your body. Plus, I have a lot of friends that are close to my age or a little bit younger that are all really starting to get sober just on their own. They realized they were going out drinking too much. The drinking culture is just not what we want to do anymore. It's not the cool thing to do like it was when I was in my like 20s and like early 30s. Like,
Yeah.
going out to bars just doesn't seem to be the thing people do. Like, and it even got to the point where at the end of my drinking, I honestly just like to go to someone's house and hang out and have like a dinner party. It,
Yeah.
it, it was more that I didn't even really enjoy going out to bars and being around those giant crowds of just angry people trying to start shit. And that's usually what it was. I mean, the night would get later and later. And I mean, what are you doing at a bar for 6.5 hours after work? I mean, it's crazy to think of how much time I literally spent at places like that and really just didn't do anything. And I'm at 22 months, almost 2 years. In February, it'll be 2 years.
Hell
And
yeah.
and this is it's different this time. I mean, now I can't really sit here and say that, if I move out, I won't, fuck up or do something stupid, but I can guarantee you that I would never go back to doing anything like I was ever doing before. There would never be drinking half a bottle of whiskey in a night. It might be a slip up, like I'm at a dinner party with some friends and I accidentally have a sip of wine, and, or something like that. But I would never go back to doing what I was doing and trying to really destroy myself, because that's really what I was doing. I mean, there were days where I would wake up and it wasn't even really the alcohol. It was just circumstantial of, like, I just didn't want to be around anymore. I didn't, not that I was suicidal, but it would have been okay if I didn't wake up. And that's kind of a morbid thing to think about. I mean, I've dealt with death since I was like, I mean, I lost my first best friend when I was 7 years old in kindergarten. So
Oh
I mean,
wow.
that really put life into perspective for me pretty early. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to do any of that, but you never know. I mean, in 10 years time, you never know. I mean, and I would never try to say I'll never do it again. For me, it's just, as of right now and the days as they come, I don't want to do any of that.
Yeah.
And I'm a little different than most people. A lot of people can't hang out with people that do that. Like, I can still go out and hang out with my friends, and if they drink, it doesn't trigger me. I can hang out with my girlfriend, and if she wants to smoke a joint or drink alcohol around me, it doesn't do anything to me. I can sit there and not have the feeling or the urge to do any of it. And it just, there's a lot of people that can't do that. If they were around a group of people and somebody ordered a drink at the table, they would have to leave, which I totally respect that. A lot of people can't control themselves, and I get that. I've just had that ability to where when I tell myself I'm not going to do something, that self-control in me is just like, okay, that's something I'm just not going to do. And I'm just not going to allow myself to do it. Now, I used to not be that way. I used to say, oh, I'm going to take 6 months off. And 3 weeks in, you'd end up,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I mean, it's different for everybody. But for me, This is my life's gotten better. I'm not exactly where I want to be, but comparative to where I was 2 years ago, I mean, I was literally sitting around the house doing nothing because I wasn't working and I was just drinking all the time. I mean, it
Yeah.
literally, I mean, beers would start popping at 10 a.m. and I wouldn't stop until midnight. I mean, it just, I had a high tolerance and I smoked a lot of weed. And, looking back, it was like, geez, I could have been doing anything. I mean, I could have started a podcast or, gone out with friends and just tried to figure something out, and I just didn't do it. And
Yeah.
I had the ability to do that. I mean, I lived with a parent that, I mean, and I had money saved up, so it didn't really matter. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a journey that's different for everybody. For me, I think it's really good. And as far as like how I'm trying to rebuild, because I had to be in a court program for a year,
Hmm.
which I graduated this last July.
Heck yeah.
It took me, it was a 13-month program, and I had to drug test every week, twice a week, actually. I had to do court. In the beginning, it was once a week, then it got to be once a month. I had to check in. I still do my therapy with them, because therapy is good just in general. And I graduated, and I was actually one of the only people in their program that had never actually really messed up. So, like, I didn't fail a UA for drugs. I didn't, have to go back into jail and then back out. I didn't have any of those issues. And so they really kind of commended me on that. And it was really cool because, I don't really have anybody. And the where I work at a hotel, and the boss had just come in March, and a whole new team had come in that I didn't know any of them. And in my graduation in July, they all knew about it because I'm very honest about what I go through. And then my graduation, they all showed up to support me, which was pretty amazing.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, it was awesome. And it really kind of showed me like, okay, because I mean, my boss said, well, who's going to show up to your graduation? I said, well, nobody. I don't have anybody. He goes, well, I'll be there. And I was like, okay. And I just kind of wrote it off because it was like 2 months before. And then I showed up to the courthouse for my graduation, and literally 8 people were sitting out there for me from work. They
Heck
all they
yeah.
they all took half the part of their day off to do that. So that was really cool. And that really shows that, like, when you put that work in, that people will see that work and they will show up for you. The ones that really know what you're trying to do and that really support that. Because none of them are sober. I mean, they all, drink on weekends and do their thing, go to OU games and stuff like that. But they
Mhm.
totally respect the fact that I don't. And anytime I'm around them, I mean, I tell them, like, you don't have to not order anything. It's not going to bother me, so you do you. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool. So alcohol's your DOC?
Alcohol, I mean, back in my 20s, cocaine was a pretty big one. And then, I
Yeah.
mean, weed for the most part, but that was more, I did that more for my ADD and just help me focus on stuff. But yeah,
Really?
alcohol was more my main driver of like what I really went towards. So,
See, I have ADHD, and that'll factor into my story. Is Do you have anything else to add?
no.
Okay, then I guess I'll go. So I I first smoked weed in high school when I was like 14.
Okay.
Didn't really like it.
Yeah.
I didn't like stoner culture, so like I didn't want to be associated with the people who did smoke weed, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Um, but every once in a while, like at a high school party, we'd all be drinking, someone would have some weed. Sure, I'd take a hit off of it. But I never liked the way it made me feel. And so like weed never became a big thing for me. And also alcohol is not a big thing for me either. Like I'm honestly not an alcoholic. Like if I do drink, historically when I drink, I mean, when my tolerance is high, I mean, I can drink 6 beers, but like I'm done after that.
Yeah.
Like I don't get blackout, and alcohol just isn't one of those substances for me that's like as soon as I have one, I have to have more, have to have more.
Yeah.
It's like I finally hit this place, and I learned this the hard way from blackout drinking that like,
Yeah.
oh, like
Yeah.
here's my level. Like I'm at my level. I'm good. I'm not going to keep going because I don't like hugging the toilet and puking and feeling like shit the next day.
Yeah.
Um, so when I turned 21, like, going to the bars became my social life.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like, I was drinking on a regular basis. A lot of times to relative excess. Like I said, like I was not a big blackout drinker, but like I would be hungover in the mornings more often than not. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'd still remember what happened the night before, but I wasn't puking, throwing up, and forgetting
Right.
what happened. And that continued to be my social life, minus several years where I left. Okay, so I actually just told like my story at my IOP program that I was at earlier, so I'm kind of like rehashing the story. But when I was in my 20s, I moved from California. So I grew up in Colorado, moved to California, but then I moved back to Colorado and I lived up in the mountains in Breckenridge.
Okay. I know
And
where that
that,
is.
yeah, and that's a huge party town. So,
It's a massive party town.
yeah. And so I was working two jobs. I was drinking every night. That was my social life. I moved there when I was 22. When I was 23, um, halfway through my first season there is when I first got introduced to cocaine. And at the time, it was just like a fun thing, right? What's up, 78 Tooth? How you doing, man? Um, so it was a fun thing. Um, I did, however, start to develop a little bit of like a mental obsession, to where I was thinking about it during the day. And then it got to the point where I started spending all my money from my second job on cocaine.
Been there.
And then I was slinging that cocaine too, making a little bit of extra money,
Yep.
supporting my habit.
Yep.
But that didn't go on for a long time. That went on for maybe a couple months, and
Yeah.
then
Well, that
and
becomes a full-time job in itself.
yeah, and then the season was over, and I went down to Denver, and I stayed with my grandparents. And honestly, the mental obsession went away. Like I spent that whole summer, I didn't do coke once. I didn't really even think about it. And then I went back up for my second season, and I was using it here and there, but it wasn't like a huge mental obsession thing. I wasn't spending my second paycheck on it, but it was still something that was there.
Right.
And then what I ended up doing was I left Breckenridge and went back to California. What's up, SOF? How you doing? I went back to California and lived with my pastor at my church, and was doing video production in exchange for free room and board in the bunkhouse that the church had. And I didn't touch cocaine for 5 years. And then, but I was still drinking pretty regularly, as my social life and all that, and chasing women like crazy. So that's a big part of my story. Is before my addiction progressed to substances earlier this year, when I got the NA basic text and I started reading it, I kind of had this epiphany. I was like, "Oh my god, dude, like I've been an addict since I was like a teenager."
Right.
But my addiction was like sex, love, and relationships.
Yep.
But anyway, so I didn't touch coke for 5 years, and then I went on a bachelor party, and one of our buddies brought some coke, and we all used it that night. But again, I just used it that night. Didn't use it again for another 5 years. And didn't have any mental obsession either. Like
Right.
after that night was over and the session was done, like I didn't even think about it. But later on, I was probably, how old was I? 28. I think I was 28 or 29 when that happened. Around that time is when I started smoking weed more regularly.
Hmm.
And then I did go through a period of time where it started out, I was just using it for sleep.
Hmm.
I was smoking weed to go to sleep at night. But then I started using it. I started wake and baking a little bit, and then it turned into smoking weed all day, every day for several months, I would say. Um, but even then, I got real burned out, and I started having panic attacks, and I was like, you know what, I don't like this, so I quit smoking weed.
Yeah.
Um, but earlier this year in February, um, after the bar, right? So at this point, I'm still going to the bar all the time. Going on dates all the time. I'm chasing women. I'm 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 filling the hole inside me with those things, right?
Right.
Well, cocaine comes around again, and I almost didn't use it. I was like, "Oh man," I was like, I haven't touched that stuff in 5 years. I don't know." And I was like, "Well, let me just put some on my gums." And so I gummed some of it, and of course, my face gets a little numb, and I'm like, oh, "Okay, all right, I'll try. I'll do
Yeah.
some."
Yeah.
And so I do some. We stay up all night talking, having a great time, and the next couple days, I'm just like, man, I want to do like I want more coke. Like that was fun. I want to do that again. And so I hung out with those people again. They had more coke. We did a little bit of it. Um and then oh yeah, and then this is what happened. I met a chick like a couple weeks after that, right? So I'd used 2 or 3 times, and then I meet this chick. We go on a date. We hit it off. I go stay at her place the following weekend, and I can hear her in the bathroom snorting coke. And I'm like, "Hey, are you gonna share any of that?" And she's like, "Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed. Like I didn't think you'd know what I was doing." And I was like, "I'm not gonna judge you." And I was like, "I'll only judge you if you don't share it." And
Yeah.
she's like, "All right, well, of course I'll share it." She's like, "Let's go." And I dated her for probably like a month and a half, and it that just really ramped up my use because her and her family are pretty wealthy, so she always had a decent sized bag on her,
Yeah.
and so we were just doing cocaine like whenever we didn't have the kids.
Yeah.
It was game on.
Yeah.
And
I've dated chicks like that where they have just endless amounts because they just have money.
oh my god,
Yeah.
yeah, she has money. She has
Yeah.
a lot of blow, good blow, I will say. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, and yeah, it just, and I'm not blaming her. Like it's not her fault.
Right.
It's my fault. But
Yeah.
the influence was there,
Yeah.
and it just took over. And that relationship was a fucking shit show. Like it
They
was
always are.
it was a roller coaster. It was so bad, and it was like it was hard for me to break up with her because she always had drugs and I just wanted to get high.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
finally I broke up with her. It took me a couple weeks to find my own plug, and found my own plug, and I was off to the races.
Yeah.
And what
That's a
ended up,
different that's a different kind of codependency.
what, the drug dependency?
Just be staying with her so you could get high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Um but yeah, so I find my own plug, and I found my plug by reaching out to an old friend, and this sounds kind of fucked up, and I don't know if he'll ever see this. If he does, you know who you are. I just want you to know I still love you and I care about you. Uh, things are cool, but and this is what I feel shitty saying though, is I knew that he had a drug problem in the past. So I was like, he'll probably be able to find me
Yeah.
somebody who has coke, and he did. Um, but we started hanging out a lot, and we started a band together. And he was always a downer guy. Like he was a heroin and fentanyl addict for a while. Got off of heroin and fentanyl by using that 7-OH stuff,
Yeah.
which he turned me on to. I started using it a little bit, and the withdrawals from that stuff is disgusting.
I've heard.
Like
Yeah.
it's bad. I actually just recently kicked that stuff. But anyway, we start using together. I like turn him onto it. So like now every time he's coming over, he's like, "Hey, you got any blow? You got any blow?" And at the time I was spending all my extra money and selling a lot of my shit. Like I sold some of my guns, I sold some of my camera equipment, I sold my music equipment. And I was just getting as much cocaine as I could, and we would stay up all night writing music. And over the course of a couple months, we ended up writing like an entire album's worth of music. Which honestly I'm still proud of. Like it's good music, but it was all just fueled by cocaine.
Yeah.
And getting into, so what I said earlier about like ADHD being a part of my story is, so I was on ADHD meds in my 20s. I was on Vyvanse for several years. And then I don't know what happened. I just stopped taking it, and I didn't take it for a long time. In my later 20s, I actually got off all meds, but not in a good way. Like I just stopped taking meds, and
Right.
it let's just say I ended up checking into a mental hospital.
They get it.
Yeah. But no, I'm back on meds. My mood is stable. Like by and large I'm good as far as my mental health goes. But I was not on anything for ADHD. And what I noticed is when I would do cocaine and I would sit down to either work on music, or I really hope my boss never sees this, but I would do it at work as well. Right. And it just helped me focus. It's that stimulant. I could hyper focus and I could get a lot of stuff done. And my boss, even there were a few projects that I really knocked out of the park, and my boss was like, "Hey man," he's like, "You're doing a really good job lately. Like keep it up." And I'm like, "Okay, let me run to the bathroom real quick and
Yeah.
do another bump."
Yeah.
But so yeah, I think that's why it gripped me so hard this last go around. Because my story, like I never went to jail.
Mhm.
I didn't end up homeless. Like my addiction, like I said, it just, oh, and another thing is like, so remember how I told you like my addiction for the longest time was like sex, love, and relationships? Well, the cocaine killed my libido.
Of course. Yeah.
So like I was no longer interested in sex. All I wanted to do was be productive. And I'm not gonna lie, like that was like a monkey off my back.
Yeah.
Like instead of spending all of my free time chatting with chicks who don't give a fuck, going on dates, spending a bunch of money on a chick who's gonna ghost me in a couple days anyway,
Yeah.
like, oh, all I need is a plate full of cocaine and I can sit alone in my house and make stuff and have a good time by myself. And that's what I ended up doing for several months. Like I would just, like, you know how they say like your world gets smaller when you're using?
Yeah.
Like my world, like what you see right here where I'm sitting,
Yeah.
I would be right here with as much cocaine as I could afford, and like this would be my home base until all the drugs were gone.
Right.
And I'd write music and I'd
Hmm.
record it, and that's what I would do. So the reason why I say that cocaine gripped me so hard this last go around earlier this year is partially because it masked the ADHD symptoms, partially because it took that burden off my back of feeling like I always have to like find a woman to
Yeah.
like love me to fulfill that hole that's inside me.
Yeah.
Cocaine did all of that for me.
Right.
And so it became my like it became my hobby.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
earlier this year, I would never admit this to anybody consciously, but like I've thought about it to myself. I'm like, well, coke's my hobby now.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
just
Weed was mine for a long time. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so anyway, um that's my story in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And so what I ended up doing was I ended up going to rehab back in July. Yeah, I agree, SOF. Only Jesus can fill that hole. I agree. It's hard for me because I do have some like religious trauma and like some issues with the church. Yeah, I've tried it all also. Yeah. Um and we can get into this later in the conversation, but one of the things that I struggle with the NA program is the spirituality component. Um but anyway, yeah. So uh cocaine got me back in February, and I used consistently for about, let's see, about 5 months. And before I went to rehab. And so I went to rehab for 90 days out in San Diego. I got super immersed in the recovery world. Like we had to go to a meeting every single day. So like I did more than 90 and 90.
Yeah.
I did 100 something in 90.
Yeah.
Um and it was great. Like it truly was great. Um and then I get home and I make it about a month before I go back out to the bar one day and I have a couple beers, and nothing crazy happened immediately, but like I'm starting to drink beer again. And then one afternoon, it was just one weekend. I don't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday, but it was like 3 in the afternoon. I had a couple beer. I'm like, fuck it. It's the afternoon. It's the weekend. I'll have a couple beers. And the next thing I know, I'm fucking hitting up my plug. And the next thing I know, I'm high again.
Yeah.
And it's been hard. I've relapsed several times since I've been back from rehab. And picking up multiple white key tags sucks. Having going to the same meeting, it's been 2 or 3 months and I'm still raising my hand for who's in their first 30 days. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I'm new to the recovery world, and just being straight up honest, like I'm struggling a little bit,
Yeah.
That's kind of just where I'm at. What was early recovery like for you?
So for me, I mean, I mean, it was kind of, I don't want to say easy, but it was definitely easier to navigate. I mean, like I said, I was in a sober living house, and I came in with a house with guys that had a lot of clean time. Um, and, I mean, I had to go to meetings. I mean, part of living where I live, the first 30 days, you're on what they call newcomers. You got to go to like 5 meetings a week. A lot of guys go to more. I was working full time and didn't really have the time. Plus, I mean, I had been in jail for like 3 months, and I had never been in there before, and that took a toll on me for a little bit. So it took me a little bit to adjust back into that. I mean, I had been to jail for like DUIs and stuff, but I'd never spent a stint in. And it wasn't easy. I mean, it was like, okay, why do we have to do this? And then, you in the beginning, like I'm one of those people, I can go somewhere even if I don't know anybody and I can pretty much, figure it out, but I could see guys that would come in later and how they're just very in a shell and they don't want to get to know these people. And I mean, I'm just a very outgoing person. So for me, it was like you go to these meetings and I would say for the first probably 2 weeks I didn't share at a meeting, and then it was kind of forced on me, so I did. And I just kind of shared from where I had started. And the fact that everybody was kind of just sort of listening and nobody was really judging. And you listen to other people's stories and they're very similar to yours, even if they did way worse or did more time, or had way more substances that they used, or hell, some people have died a couple of times and been brought back because their use was so crazy that they overdosed a few times. And I mean,
That's
that's
wild.
that's hard to hear. I mean, I live with a guy that had that happen a few different times, and recently he had it happen again. And it was just, it's one of those, you got to kind of count your blessings that you're still here. And for me, it was not hard to talk about what I had been through, but it was hard for me to realize that like it didn't matter, that what I had been through wasn't as like drastic as other people's. Like I never got into fentanyl. I never got into like doing pills. I never did heroin. I mean, I never did anything really crazy. I mean, mushrooms, acid. I mean, I did the typical shit that people do. Um, but the early days were, I guess, a little awkward because, the first few places that I went in town, I didn't really like it because I kind of grew up a little different. I mean, I kind of grew up around money. I kind of grew up around like, you act a certain way, you dress a certain way because that's just how you're brought up. And when you go to a place where nobody's like that and you're the only one that sticks out like a sore thumb, you're kind of like, I mean, I can deal with this, but this probably isn't where I want to be. And then started going to some other meetings, and the meeting that we go to, the reason I like it is there's a lot of clean time. There's a lot of couples there, which that's a really good thing. People that either met in NA or came to NA together. And
Mhm.
then also the one thing I like about where we go is there's a lot of professional people there. So there's a lot of people that you listen to what they say and you're like, holy crap, you were like living in a trap house, and now they're living in damn near a mansion, and they're doing good, and they both have good careers or they've started a business. And that's,
Mhm.
you kind of have to put yourself around where you want to be. I mean, there was one of the places I was going in the beginning because the guys at my house were going to it because that's where they all started. And I'm like, just because you started there doesn't mean you have to keep going. And it was just one of those places that you could tell people were in that meeting time and time again, and they were definitely lying about using, and they were definitely high in the room.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be, I mean, it's not, like I said, it doesn't trigger me, but I'm not going to go and listen to somebody basically lie to everyone's face about how they've been clean and all this, but you can tell they're literally having, slack jaw in the fucking meeting, or they can't keep still because you can tell they're on coke, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
you can tell that they've definitely been on something, or they've been drinking. There was one meeting we were at, and the guy had a vodka bottle in his hoodie sticking out, and they kicked him out. But he came in the meeting and had been drinking and just was sitting in there talking about how he had been sober. And it's just stuff like that. And I think it's finding the good meeting where you can relate to the people. And some rooms, people do judge. Some rooms, if you go in there, they'll say they don't, but you can definitely tell if you share, you watch people share, they're definitely judging some of them,
Yeah.
or they're making fun of them, and that's just not what it's about. I mean, there are people with personalities that you kind of,
Take it easy, Trey. Thanks for coming by.
there's people with personalities, and I mean, you kind of riz somebody for like something stupid they say, but you don't like just openly say I hate that person. You just kind of, you just like, my way of showing I like somebody is by roasting people, and that's just something I've always done. And I kind of have a comedic brain in that way, so it's like that's how I kind of like show love to people, and people who know me know it. and then other people that don't take it wrong, which is fine, but that you'll get to learn. Um, but for me, I think it wasn't as hard to navigate in the beginning as I've seen for some people, because I was very honest by the time I got out of jail that I had an issue. And I knew beforehand anyway that I did. And I was very honest with myself. It was just being honest with other people out loud versus just telling myself. And I think that was a little hard in the beginning. But then once I got in a room where I felt comfortable, it's just like talking to people. It's like talking to a therapist in a way. So.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, what did your longer stint in jail? What was that for?
So I had a mental health breakdown during COVID, and
Thanks, bro. Love you too, man.
my aunt and uncle had sold a house in town, which I honestly was trying to buy at one point, but I definitely couldn't afford it. It needed a lot of remodel, and during COVID, I had convinced myself that they were remodeling that house for me, and they weren't. They sold it to somebody that I actually worked for, and I went on a I went manic for the first time in during COVID. And for about 2 weeks there, it felt like it was about 3 days. And then I basically went out one day and just kind of was running around with a homeless kid that I thought was some kid I knew from high school, which it wasn't. It was some random dude that just sort of played along. And because hey, I had money and I was buying stuff. And we weren't doing drugs or anything. I think we maybe had like 2 beers together, and we were running around the neighborhoods, and we walked in a couple houses that I acted like were mine. Then we went to one house, and I thought they had a birthday card. It was around my birthday. I thought it was for me. It wasn't. Then we went to the house where my aunt and uncle lived, and he took off running. He was like, hell no. And I went up and got in their car because they left the door open, and got in their garage with their garage door opener. They were home. She saw me, said my name, and I was like, oh, you live here. And I literally took off down the street, and that's where I got a burglary charge.
Oh, wow.
And I actually ran to another house, and I ended up in a house's backyard, got in their garage, nothing, didn't break into anything, literally, and swam in their pool naked for 6.5 hours until sunrise. And yeah, that was a wild one. And uh, their security in the neighborhood found me, and then the cops came and took me to the crisis care center, which I spent 7 days in there. And then I guess they issued a warrant for my arrest in November of 2020, which I knew nothing about. And then I worked at a weed dispensary in 2021. I'd gotten a job at a dispensary with some buddies of mine, and it was a good job. I mean, I enjoyed it. I knew that culture pretty well, so it was easy. And I went to apply for another job because I was thinking about going back to school. And the lady hired me and then called me and was like, hey, what about these 2 arrest warrants for you? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And that's when I found out about it. And so I basically just laid low for like a couple of years thinking I could wait the statute of limitations out. And it was a lot longer than I thought it was. And in 2023, my mother and I kind of got into an argument one day pretty bad. I mean, she was off her rocker. She's got dementia and she's older and doesn't want to admit it. And just, it was a whole shit show. And she ended up calling the police. She ended up calling for mental health help for me because I in 2020 I had a full mental health breakdown. I was in there for 7 days. I went manic and I was off my rocker, and then
that happened to me in 2021 when I was getting divorced.
Yeah, I went pretty crazy for about a week. And then when I got out of the crisis care center, it never happened again. I mean, I never had an issue. She thought I was having that issue again, so she called. Well, when they ran my name for the help, they saw that I had warrants. Well, the cops had to show up. And so her and her friend basically entrapped me. Her friend was like, I need help. My car's broken down. And I'm like, well, I'm not coming. I in my head when that happened, I was like, this feels like a setup. Like I hadn't talked to my mom all day. I got home. The house is dark. And I'm like, this feels weird. And I literally walked out my front door to go help her. And cops with shields, AR-15s, and dogs swarmed me in my front driveway.
Whoa.
Yeah. And ended up going to jail for 85 days. Got in there, got mental health court. Was on a mental health pod there, which it wasn't terrible, but it was still fucking jail. You know, I mean, it was an easier, I didn't have to worry about a whole lot. But the other thing was I knew how to read legal paperwork, and I knew
Mm.
what to tell people to, like, hey, this is what you need to have your lawyer do. This is what you need to ask for. So because of that, I didn't really get messed with. Everybody in there kind of was like, hey, he can read paperwork. We need this dude. And I knew what to look up for them to be able to go to their lawyer and say, hey, this is what you need to do. This is what I want to do, you know, or what to say in court to not get in deeper shit, you know. And you know, don't, if you think you didn't do it or you didn't actually do this, then don't ever plead guilty. Plead no contest and let your lawyer figure this shit out. And so that was interesting. I mean, I made a couple buddies in there. I mean, there were some good dudes in there. I mean, some people just get fucked up, and you know, they just do stupid shit. And I ended up getting out same day I got out. I got into an Oxford house. Within probably like 4 hours,
Heck
um,
yeah.
I got out of court. I got out of jail at 6 a.m. I got I had to go back to court because I had a protective order put on me by my mother, and she extended it. So that was first thing. Then I got into an Oxford house, and then within like 2 days, I had a job. It wasn't anything. It was at a thrift store, and it wasn't anything. You know, it was just a job.
That's
So
still awesome though, man. Like
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
a blessing.
yeah. And then, you know, I didn't have my car. I couldn't go anywhere near my mother or any of my stuff. And then I basically went back to court in, oh, when was it? October? I want to say it was October. And she extended it for a full year, which it just got dropped this last October, which it doesn't matter. I don't have any plans of ever talking to her except to get my stuff out of my house. But I finally got my car back, and I hadn't had a license in almost 12 years because I had a DUI. And
Yeah.
they threw the book at me, tried to make me have a blower. And I'm like, I'm not doing a blower. That's stupid. And so, you know, I drove a little bit without one, which was stupid, but you know, you do what you got to do. And so last October, I got my license back, uh, and got my car back within about 2 weeks. And so for the first time in probably 13 years, I drive legally now. So
Hell
that
yeah.
that's a good feeling. You know, it's a good feeling. But jail was interesting. It wasn't what I expected. It's a lot more like high school fucking drama because it's not
Okay.
prison. Prison's a whole nother ball game. I talked to enough guys in there that had been in it, and I've known a lot of people that have spent time in. Um, you know, I mean, I got lucky. I had a girlfriend that figured out how to do the system, and you know, took care of me on commissary and put money on my books, sent me stuff to read, and you know, talked to me, you know, when she could. And you know, it would have been a lot harder if I hadn't had her. Because my mother wrote me off. I didn't have anybody to fucking call. I don't know anybody's phone number, and anybody that I did, I hadn't talked to in years. I'm not gonna call you from fucking jail. And you know, for the first like 3 weeks, I was like trying to figure out like how the fuck I get out of here. And then once I'd been there about a month, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm here as long as they're gonna keep me here. And they kept pushing my court date back, and then finally, about 2.5 months in, my public defender like finally reached out and kind of told me what they were throwing at me. And I mean, if I hadn't done mental health court, I was looking at about 7 years in prison
Oh wow.
for one breaking and entering, and
Wow.
no record of any kind really out there. So because they don't take that shit lightly. And so she was like, but they're not going to do that. You're a first time offender. They're going to offer you this if you can go through this and not do anything. And they wiped my record clean when I graduated. That was another reason I took it,
Heck yeah.
is they expunged everything. So none of that shows up. And yeah, I mean, towards the end of jail, it was getting kind of grueling because it was just the same fucking thing every day. It
Yeah.
was waking up at 4 a.m. for breakfast. Like, why the fuck are we waking up at 4 a.m. for breakfast? You know, then lunch would come at like 11, but then dinner wouldn't come till fucking, you know, it's just stupid. And half the time you're watching shitty TV, you know, you're all just sitting around talking about the same stupid shit. Half the guys are talking about, you know, they're pulling chains because they're going to prison soon. So they're trying to figure out, oh, I've been there 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, yeah, and I was just, you know, I was like, hey guys, you know, I've never been there, but I know for a fact this isn't what you want your life to be. Is just in and out of prison. And you know, a lot of them were just, some of them were old timers. I mean, one guy was looking at 15 years for stabbing a dude, and he had already spent 20 in.
Good Lord.
So, and you know, I had a cellmate a cellie, as you call it. We had bunk beds, and he was my age. So when I was in, I was what, 37? Yeah, and 37. Yeah, and he was my age, and he had already done a little bit of time in Lawton. He was in military, but he had done a little bit of time. I can't remember what it was for, but he was looking at his ex-wife had set him up, and he was getting it's not attempted murder with a deadly weapon, but like assault with a deadly weapon.
Okay.
And he took it to trial and everything, and she screwed him, and he got 27 years concurrent at 37 years old.
Wow.
Which means there's no possibility of parole on that one.
Yeah.
And, then he ended up going back to Lawton. Well, 2 weeks after he got there, they had a prison riot and like 7 people got killed. Still have no idea if he's one of them. And,
Oh, wow.
and he was a good dude. I mean, he was a very disciplined guy. I mean, he kind of stood up for me and kind of showed me kind of the ways, and, and it was interesting. I mean, it definitely showed me that, I mean, I've always known that not everybody that's in jail or prison is a bad person,
Yeah.
but it definitely showed me that, like, okay, even they treat you like a dog in there, but everybody in there was a human being, and everybody in there had their own story too. And, I was lucky I was on a pod where a lot of people weren't doing any drugs. We didn't have any drugs on that pod because there's a lot of them in there where they're getting high all the time.
In jail.
Oh yeah. There's way more drugs in jail or in prison than there are on the streets half the time.
Wow.
Yeah. Especially prison. There's way more drugs in prison. There's a lot. You can get your hands on just about anything.
That's wild.
Because a lot of times it's the officers that bring them in, or it's some staff member that brings them in for somebody who knows somebody in the jail. So yeah, it's wild, man.
Corruption.
Oh yeah, but it taught me a lot. I mean, it taught me, first of all, I don't ever want to fucking go back there.
Yeah.
And I've also,
Yeah.
and I've also eaten my fair share of ramen noodles for my whole lifetime. Because that's mainly what you get on commissary, and when you have to buy food in there is it's mainly ramen noodles. And the trays they served us, I think there were only about 3 that I would eat, and the rest of them, anybody that was in there that was like homeless, just in there, just like, have a nice place to be, I would just give them my fucking food. I mean, I was like, hey, I have commissary, I've got food, you guys eat this shit, so. But yeah, it was eye-opening for sure. And I became a trustee, so like I could clean the unit that we were on, and the guards would trust me with stuff. And, anytime they needed help, they would help, ask me. And, that was good. I mean, I wasn't doing it for protection or anything. It was just kind of like I needed something to fucking do in there. I was bored.
Yeah.
Did laundry for a while. Everybody on the deal did laundry here and there. So, and, just a lot of bullshit playing cards. They end up getting us a bunch of board games, so we all had like board game nights, at like after dinner at like, what was it, 6 o'clock. Fucking Scrabble would come out, and there'd be games of Scrabble for 5 hours, man. They would let us stay up way past the time we were supposed to be up to play Scrabble. So that was cool. I mean, and there were times where we would all pool food together and make spreads. So we made like burritos out of ramen and beans and shit. And, and I mean, they're like, how do you know how to cook prison food? You've never been in prison. I'm like, I mean, it's science, and it's also, I've watched a lot of fucking TV. So, I'm making ramen in a trash bag with hot water, and they're like, you've never done this. I'm like, it's not hard. It's just science,
Yeah.
So,
dude, when I was in rehab, one of our counselors, he was telling us how they used to make taffy in prison from Kool-Aid powder and non-dairy creamer powder.
Yep.
And I was like, dude, I want to try that. And he's like, all right. He's like, when I come back in a couple days, we'll make prison taffy. And we did. We took the non-dairy creamer and the Kool-Aid powder. We mixed it all together with just a little bit of water.
Yep.
We put it in a garbage bag and mashed it up and kneaded it and rolled it and made prison candy.
Yep. Yeah. We, you could, if you can get them in jail, they do Jolly Ranchers too, where you can melt Jolly Ranchers down and make like different types of stuff with them too. I mean, it's pretty amazing how ingenuitive people will get in that space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, humans are smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're when you're locked up and you don't have privileges and you don't have resources, you find a way.
Right.
You find a way to make shit happen.
Yeah, there was actually so coffee was the big thing. Coffee was king. Like I always had 3 bags of coffee because the coffee was like your drugs in there, right? Most people would drink coffee till fucking 11 o'clock at night. And there were guys that made a drink called a Cadillac. So you take like and it's shitty Keef coffee. It's just these little like they're grinds that as soon as you get hot water on it, it's like dissolves, right?
Yeah.
But if you put just a little bit of water in it and you put a bunch in the bottom and you stir it with your spoon in your cup, it turns into mud. So it gets like super strong. And what
Mhm.
they would do is put the hot water in there. They would add hot cocoa powder, so hot chocolate. You'd put two packets of that, so a shit ton of sugar, and then you would take, what was the other one? Hot chocolate, coffee, creamer, and then you would take, the little old Jawbreaker cinnamon balls.
Mhm.
So they stopped serving them in prison because people were making hooch out of it. But you used to be able to get those, and you drop that in the bottom of your coffee, and you let it just dissolve like a crazy, and it'd be like this cinnamon chocolate coffee. But it would give
Ooh.
you the buzz of like what heroin would do. So
Really?
these dudes would make like 4 Cadillacs in like, I don't know, an hour and just chug these things down, and they'd just be bouncing off the walls. But but the best part was they didn't do it at like 8:30 in the morning. They did it at like 9:15 at night, and lights outs at like 10. So
Yeah.
these dudes are sitting up just jonesing, and it was just so funny. I mean, yeah, and I mean there were guys that would snort coffee grounds. I mean, there were people that would do
What?
that. Oh yeah, they're like, let me see some of that coffee, and they'd snort it, come back out, and there'd be coffee in their nose, and you're like, dude, you're out of your fucking mind, just to feel something. I mean, yeah,
That's wild.
it was
So
pretty wild.
did people ever make Pruno?
No, not where we were. Not where
No.
we were, but I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there were guys that were definitely making like Pruno and toilet wines and shit like that because you'd be in like you'd have to go to medical or something, or like I said, I was a trustee, so I would go all over and help. And you'd hear guys be like, "Yeah, man, they found my fucking bag and I forgot to burp it, so it blew up and all this shit." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I
Mhm.
I can only imagine what fucking Pruno or toilet wine tastes like, and I'm out on that.
Yeah, no thanks.
I've heard it just tastes like rancid shit,
It
and
is. It's just rotten fruit.
yeah, it's just fermented ass bullshit.
Yeah. Well, hey,
So
we have a comment. I'm sorry, Tooth, it took me so long to get to this comment. Um, I'll go first and then you can answer.
okay,
Is there something someone could have said to you to get you started on this road to recovery? So there was kind of something somebody said to me. The girl I was dating at this time back in June, July,
hmm
um, she just told me straight up one day, she's like, you need to go to rehab. She's like, you are having too hard of a time stopping on your own. And at this point, I had been to our meeting several times.
right,
I've been to that meeting high before.
yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
that's fine.
But
You're not the only one.
yeah.
You're not the only one.
But no, and I'm actually really happy I found that meeting because it's right down the road from my office.
Okay,
But I like that meeting a lot. I'm going tomorrow to make it my home group.
nice.
But
Yeah, for Group C, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, a chick I was dating told me I needed to go to rehab, and she said I'll only be with you if you go to rehab. So I went to rehab. She ended up breaking up with me halfway through, and actually ended up getting with the vocalist from my band, the one that I was using with.
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
what? Like you go from one addict to my supposed best friend who's also an addict? Like that doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. But anyway, is there something someone could have said to you to get you started?
Uh, I mean, there was probably maybe one girl that I dated a long time ago that if she had been around at all, or if we had worked out and I was going through all that, yeah. Other than that, no. It was one of those things that like I was going full force into it. No one was getting in my way, And like I'll say I was a functioning, I never lost my job, never
Mhm.
lost all my shit, never,
Same.
never ended up on the street. I only got a couple of DUIs when I was younger, and that was mainly that happened in a calendar year because I lost my dad. Not that we were close, but I definitely just drowned myself in booze to deal with it, because it was just sort of like, okay, why am I
Yeah.
still trying to get this approval from somebody who's dead? That's a weird thing to want to do.
Yeah.
And it's like I didn't need to make him proud of me, but for some reason I had this like stigma that I did, which was total bullshit, and I've worked through that. But no, I mean, I in the long run, no, I really don't think there was. I think what I was dealing with was, it's hard too when you see a lot of the people that you have been around, you're friends with, you grew up with, you see them excel and move in life, and you're not moving there. And whether it be job or relationships or traveling or moving and doing all these things, which I've done those things too, but those are temporary. I have friends that live overseas. I have friends that live all over the country. I went to a pretty big high school, and there were a lot of very successful people. And it's tough when what's the harder one is, and the college I went to, it's harder to watch people that are a dipshit that just excel up by being a dipshit, and you're
Yeah.
like, hold on, I know I'm smarter than you. How the fuck are you there and I'm where I'm at? And it's that kind of thing where you just sort of like, you'd be like, okay, well, that guy got a promotion and I know I could do that job better. I think I'm gonna go drink half a bottle of whiskey to fucking deal with this. And it's
Yeah.
stuff like that. And that was more on me than I think anybody really knew about for a long time. So I don't really think that anybody knew that my problem was that bad to say anything. And anybody that did, we were all doing the same shit. So it's like, okay, I would have said the same thing back to you, and we would have just had another drink about it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it would have been a catch-22 at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Because I mean, like I said, my dad and I weren't close. My mom really knew that I didn't have a problem, but that I was just kind of dealing with shit. And
Mhm.
I mean, I was drinking at home. I wasn't like out, putting my life at risk every night. So I mean, that's a little bit of a different thing. And I wasn't ever violent. I wasn't ever mean. You know what I mean? I was a very chill, laid back alcoholic that just
Mhm.
liked to drink. So no, I don't think there was much of anything or anyone that could have said something or tried to push me in that direction.
Okay.
So
Um, so talking about early recovery, what would be your advice to somebody who maybe sees this or who's watching right now? Like, they're starting to realize that they're powerless,
mhm.
or maybe they don't even realize. They just have people telling them, "Hey, you've got a problem and you need to get some help." But like, if somebody wants to start out on the recovery journey,
Mhm.
do you have any kind of like advice, or like where to start,
Yeah.
or like how can, or like
Yeah.
pitfalls to avoid?
Yeah. What I would say first and foremost, if you have people around you telling you that, I get not wanting to listen, but maybe sit down and have a real conversation and actually hear them out. And ask them examples other than just the stuff you already know, because I think a lot of times when people tell you, "Oh, you have a problem," okay, but what do you see? So like, sit down and have them just genuinely tell you what they actually are concerned about. I mean, a lot of times it's, oh, this person could die. With everything that's out there now, I mean, literally you could do one bump and you could die. I mean, it's
Yeah,
that serious now. When I was
that's
doing it, it wasn't that
that
serious.
yeah, that's my biggest
Yeah,
fear
yeah,
is
yeah. I mean, it's the
is
light
ha-
switch.
yeah, having the eternal relapse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think those serious conversations are a thing. I think finding, if you're around people that don't suffer from it, it can be hard because they say they understand you, but they don't. And I think that was another thing, is like, when you have people that can just drink a drink every 2 months, sitting there telling you have a problem, well, it's like, how do you know? You don't, you're not close to this at all. And I think finding a meeting, or at least finding, or trying to trying to find somebody that can more relate to what you're going through versus just a bunch of people that don't know what that's like can be hard. Because it's like anybody can tell you, oh, you need to do your job better. Well, you're not in my industry. How the hell do you know that? You know what I mean? It's like things like that.
Yeah.
So, and I think the biggest thing would be, if you're struggling with the fact that you think you might have this disease, find a meeting, go sit and listen. You don't ever have to actually participate. If you go to a meeting and say, hey, I'm just here to listen, they're going to be fine with that. And go to a couple of different ones, find some people that, maybe after the meeting you stay and talk to for a little bit, and you try to relate to them, or you at least try to, hey, I like your shirt. You just talk to somebody about something. And I think once that barrier of like being afraid to actually speak to somebody that might be like you, that really breaks that wall down, and it allows people to be a little bit more comfortable with the fact that, like, okay, I'm a lot more like these people than I thought. I remember when I went to AA, it was like I was 26 or 25, and it was court mandated. And I went in there and I was like, okay, yeah, these dudes are full of shit. I'm doing this for court. I'm not like these motherfuckers. Ran into two people I fucking knew who were family friends. One, I'll never say his name, but one was a senator, and and I've known him for a long fucking time, and it was just sort of like, oh, okay, maybe I am a little bit like these dudes. And but I didn't like AA. I didn't like the way AA was run. I didn't like the
I
fact
don't
that
either.
I didn't like the fact they're all about Jesus and all this, and I didn't like the fact that 60% of the meeting can't sit still for more than 10 minutes without smoking or getting a cup of coffee. um, because they've replaced their addiction with those two things.
Yep.
But I think the biggest thing is, like, try to talk about it. I mean, if you think you might be suffering from this, the way you're gonna at least let your walls down a little bit, even if it's somebody that doesn't understand or doesn't suffer from it, is just to talk about it. Hey, yeah, maybe I do drink a little too much, or maybe I do go out and do this a little too much, and just maybe have a little bit more inner perspective, which is very hard. But I think if you really want to get better and you really want to try to control it and get to a point where, for us, it's hard because we didn't lose anything, right? So, like,
Mhm.
we didn't have to quit so that, like, we could keep a job. We didn't have to quit so that we could not be homeless. You know what I mean? So for
Yeah.
some people, though, they have to do that because it's what's going to happen. And I think it really is just trying to have that honest conversation with yourself, but with people that can relate to what you really might be going through. And that can be hard, but I will say where we live has a very big recovery community. Compared to a lot of places, we do have a very strong recovery community because we have a really hard problem with, like, homelessness and drugs, and I mean it's a
Yeah.
problem here. Um, and if you don't have anybody near you, I mean, there's online meetings you can get on. I mean, I honestly think too, a lot of it is some therapy helps a lot of people. I've been going to therapy for a long time, and it probably is one of the best things that's ever helped me just deal with some other trauma outside of that. Because it's
Mhm.
all it's all borderline under other things, I mean, it's, part of why I drank a lot is because I've had a lot of death in my life. I've lost a lot of friends, and not
Yeah.
to drugs, just to random stuff, and it happened early, and it fucked me up a bit,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Well, that's another reason why um coke got me so hard this last go around is like, I got divorced in 2021. I met a woman 5 months after that. You know, I thought she was the one.
yeah.
We had a son together. We got engaged. We moved to New Hampshire to be close to her family, and 2 months after moving halfway across the country, she breaks up with me, right?
Oh jeez.
So I lose that relationship. I don't get to see my son. While I was with that woman, my dad died in an apartment fire. Um, my grandma died last or 2 summers ago. Um, my cat frickin' died earlier this year. You know what I mean? Like, And also like my professional life, like my vocation has, I feel like, kind of gone down a little bit. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm not doing the kinds of projects that I want to be doing at the company that I work for now.
Right.
And last year I was self-employed and I was a lot happier with the clients that I had and the projects that I was doing and the money that I was making. I was making more money.
Right.
So like income problems, relationship problems, death, like all of those things, when cocaine hits my nose, it goes all out the window.
Yep. You had the pile on happen. You had the pile on effect where literally so many life events happen that leads you back to it.
Yeah. Well, and like I didn't seek it out. Like it found me, but
Right.
when it found me, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so and that's also another thing that kind of sucks about, especially like people who don't necessarily believe in addiction, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I didn't wake up one day and just decide I'm going to go get addicted to something.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't wake up and I'm going to be like, "You know what? I'm going to go become a cokehead,
Mm-hmm.
a raging one."
Yeah.
No. Like it all starts as dabbling and fun and games, and then the snowball goes downhill and gets bigger, and then it's completely out of control and unmanageable.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, it's like I've always said, nobody like dreamed about as a kid being homeless. You know what
no.
I mean? Nobody like woke up one day and was like, yeah, I'd like to go live on the streets. You know, and it's the same with addiction. I mean, none of us, I mean, if you told me, because I'm an Eagle Scout, if you told me at like 14, when I was in Boy Scouts going on campouts on weekends, that I would have a problem with something like that, I'd have told you you're full of shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we were we were out in the middle of the woods smoking a little weed here and there, and doing dumb shit. But I would have never thought that out of the 8 guys that I went through that with, that like 4 of us would have this issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, we were all good kids from decent families. Like we weren't, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I will say this, some of the people that I've gone to school with, college, high school, and all this, some of the people that have the worst drug addiction, suicidal thoughts are some of the wealthiest people I've ever met.
Really?
Oh yeah. Because they didn't want for anything. They had
So
everything handed to them. They didn't have to like work and earn anything. So they were just bored all the fucking time.
yeah.
I mean, one of the kids that I knew in high school, I didn't know that he was this bad into it. Parents owned a paint company, was wealthy as all hell, had a Supra like what you saw in Fast and Furious in high school. Like kid had everything in front of him. And what was it? A year after high school, he walked in his fucking kitchen and looked at his mom and pulled out a 38 revolver and shot himself in the head right in front of his mother.
Jeez.
I mean,
And what
owned his
drugs
own
was he
company.
on?
It was mainly coke and like some other stuff, but I think he had gotten a little bit into doing some like heroin and shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think later on that he had finally gotten that far. But I mean, he was like taking over the family business. And I think it was just the pressures of everything, and he didn't, I don't think he really knew any direction of anything, because his parents had always taken care of everything, and he never really had to like figure shit out for himself.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean,
yeah,
I'm honestly kind of that way as well. Like I grew up with a very wealthy stepfather.
yeah,
Um,
I grew up with a wealthy family too. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
like that's one of the things I'm struggling with right now as an adult is like I grew up not wanting for anything,
yeah,
and now I'm on my own and the economy sucks,
yeah,
and it feels like I'm never going to achieve the same lifestyle that I had when I was a kid in my adulthood.
yep. I get
And that,
that.
and
I know that feeling.
that's another reason why
Yeah,
I like I didn't use because of that, but I realized that using took away that anxiety of,
yep,
you know what I mean? I was just like,
yeah,
fuck it. I'm high in my apartment. I'm happy. I'm good to
yeah.
go.
it alleviated that pressure and that like feeling of not being what you think you should be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I said, I came from money, but I worked from the age of 14 and I've never really stopped. Because
Mm,
if I wanted my own stuff, I didn't want to have to ask for it.
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, I had a dad that ended up getting money later on, and aunt and uncle that had money, and grandfather that had a shit ton of money. So, um, but no, I know exactly how you feel. I mean, it's like, especially you're 35, I'm 39. I mean, our age brackets when we were younger, told us to do the right things and shit would work out. It ain't working out.
Yeah.
It's just not. And it's frustrating because, it's harder. Everything's more expensive. I mean, I'm looking to move out of this house in the next 6 to 8 months, maybe. But there's just a certain type of living I want to do, and I won't move out till I can do that. So
Yeah. How is Oxford House? So I've met more and more people who talk about Oxford House because they either live in one or they used to live in one.
mhm.
And I'm not gonna lie, I considered the Oxford House thing only because I felt like it might be cheaper than living on my own.
It is.
But
I mean, my rent's 560 a month.
oh my god, dude. It's
but
just
I
hard
but I
do
live in a
you
house with 7 other dudes. So
yeah, that's fair. Which I've done. I mean, I did that in college and in my
right.
20s,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I don't think I want to do that long term. And plus I had like, do you have kids?
No, no. I've never been
So
married. I don't have any children.
so I have a daughter, she's got a bedroom here,
Yeah.
like if I go live in a sober living home, there's no place for her.
No, I mean they can come over on weekends and hang out for a couple of days, but yeah, there's no place like yeah. Like we had a guy that lived here up until July, and his daughter would come over every weekend for a couple of days.
Oh, really?
And yeah,
Where
yeah,
would she sleep?
in his room, in his bed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he shared a room with another guy, but I mean, it's just one of those, if the daughter's over and that guy was usually gone. I mean, he had his overnights that he would take. But yeah, I mean, he just sleeps in her bed and his bed, and it was cool. I mean, we all liked her. I mean, we would play with her and make weekends about her sometimes, do movie nights and build forts and shit. So it was fun.
Nice. That's
Yeah, it was
cool.
fun. Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's a good program, especially because a lot of the guys that I've met have never lived on their own. A lot
Oh,
of them have
really?
no, and I mean, if they have, it was always like drug houses or like living with roommates, and they're all getting fucked up. So
Yeah.
a lot of them come out of prison. A lot of them come out of jail. Um, so a lot of them are learning how to re-be in society and learning how to relive and how to be responsible and clean up after yourself and take care of a house. I've done it a million times. I've owned homes. I've lived on my own a bunch of times and successfully. Um, it's it's interesting. It's nice to have people around. I'll say that. It is a lot of personalities at times, and it can be hard. I mean, we've had for the amount of time I'm here, I've probably seen 50 people come through here.
Okay.
Just guys come in, stay a couple weeks, fuck off. Guys come in, fuck up, leave. Um, and you can tell the guys that really want it and the guys that don't, and you can tell within probably 2 weeks who really wants to be here. So
All right, I'm back. Sorry to have you on the screen by yourself.
no, you're good.
Uh, yeah, Wi-Fi out for a sec.
Oh,
Uh,
you're fine.
so we have another question from Tooth. He says, "What or how would you recommend talking to someone who has an issue?"
So I would first of all, it depends on what the issue is. If they are very, very far gone in fentanyl or something along those lines, um, you're probably gonna have to have somebody who's like real professional at it, because a lot of those people are so far gone at times that it's very hard to get through to them. But honestly, just have a real honest conversation. Don't berate them, don't attack them, and don't bring up the drug use all the time. Like, don't throw it in their face. You really just need to like focus on like how much you care about the person, how much you're worried about the person, how what they're doing is affecting other people, who is worried and thinking about them, because a lot of times that's why they're doing it, is they don't think anybody gives a shit. A lot of times when people are out there really, really getting fucked up a lot, they really don't think anybody cares. And if you can show them that people do, I think that really helps get through to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Open dialogue, like let them get some shit out, because they're probably going to be defensive. Don't take anything they say personal, especially in the beginning, because especially if they're coming off something. I mean, people are going to say shit because they're just angry.
Yeah.
Um, and I would say to just really approach it with, look, we're worried about you because A, you could die. I mean, that's first and foremost, especially like I said, these days with everything being laced with all the other bullshit. But mainly just like the fact that people do care and are thinking about them all the time. Because
Yeah.
like I said, a lot of the people that I know, especially that started at a very young age using hardcore drugs, a lot of them started because their parents didn't pay attention to them, or people around them, they just had this notion of no one gives a shit about me, they're all here to use me, or no one, they're all fake.
Mhm.
And that right there, if you kind of come in and you really hit them hard with like, well, it's all the fucking blah blah blah, and you can't do that, because they're not going to be receptive to that. In fact, half the time they'll run the fuck out of the room and you won't see them for 3 days. um, so yeah, I mean, I would say an open dialogue. I would say, really, really keep it soft spoken. Don't raise your voice at all. Don't try to, like I said, attack them or anything. And just keep it real on point about the fact of how much people care about them, how much you're worried about them, and if they want to get help. Because I think that's the problem, is a lot of people, if they feel like people are forcing them to get help, like, well, this is an ultimatum. That's a challenge to them, and that's going to end the conversation, because they're going to
Yeah.
go out and just use harder. So if you say, well, when you're ready, we're here for you, let us know and we'll get you some help. Until then, please try your best to not do too much and die, because I
Mhm.
mean, inevitably, if an addict doesn't want to stop using, they're not going to stop using.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the nature of it. I mean, there have been people, in the amount of time that I've been in and out of in these rooms, I've probably seen a good 7 that have been in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah.
And they'll even tell you, I don't know if I'm done yet. And the best thing about those rooms is no one in that room cares. They just hope to God you come back and you're alive.
Yeah. So that leads me to another question. You said some meetings people are judgmental. Like, how does, by and large, do people get judged for relapsing?
Hmm, I think not like, oh, look at that piece of shit, he relapsed. I think it's more like, oh, that person was working such a good program and then they fell off. I don't know if I can trust the fact that this person's really being honest about wanting to be here. I think that's more the
Oh, yeah.
judgmental you get. I think more what you get judged for is like, I think a lot of people think people are full of shit when they tell their stories, and like how some people, because I've heard some people that I know for a fact that some of the shit they say in those rooms, because I remember them from the past, they didn't do any of that shit. They're making shit up to make themselves sound better,
Oh,
and
okay.
and it, and
Sound
it
sound better as in like less less bad of an addict or sound better as
Worse of an addict than they actually were.
okay.
So like, there are people that, they'll tell you these stories and you go, that's kind of hard to believe, and then you think about it and you're like, because it probably wasn't true.
Hmm.
But I'm not saying everybody's like that, but there's definitely some that I've seen that I'm like, I remember seeing you back in the day, and you didn't do any of that. Like you didn't fight that. You know what I mean? Like you're making that up. You're trying to sound harder or more hardcore than you really are. And I think that people definitely can see through that sometimes. And I honestly, and when people are lying and everybody in the room kind of knows they're full of shit about, oh yeah, I've been sober. Well, we can kind of tell you're tweaking right now. So they're
Yeah.
gonna judge you to an extent. That's just human nature, is to judge.
Yeah.
But I think it's more.
Thanks, Mom. That's my mom.
Oh, nice. That's more. I think it's more. Like I said, I don't think it's the fact that you relapsed. I don't think it's like, oh, this guy's a piece of shit. He can't. I think it's more like, okay, you had a fall off. I don't know if I can trust everything about you being here for the right reason now.
Mm,
But it's just the fact that you got to keep showing up, because I've seen
yeah.
people that have had that happen. Like early on, there was a guy that I guess had been there for like 5 years and he fell off, but he came back stronger and he's been there ever since. And like it took a while. I could tell in the room that it took a while for people to like get that trust back, to like, I mean, they still talk to him and everything, but they weren't as friendly as they are now. And it,
Okay.
it took a while for them to kind of be like, okay, he's serious again. He's not just here to say it,
Yes, sir, it is.
So I think that's where the judgment part, I think, comes in. I mean, let's be honest. Everybody everywhere judges people, even if you say you don't. That's just human nature. That's just we
Yeah.
all do that. We're all subject to it. Um, I try to listen to people and just think, okay, you're here. You're trying, and as long as you keep trying, that's as good as I can take from you, because I don't know you that well. Now,
Yeah.
if I know the person and they're full of shit, that's a whole nother ballgame. But yeah, I think, and there are some meetings that like some of them are cliquish. So like they have their own, they've been there for so long, they all know each other, they're all kind of good friends. And when new people come in and start sharing, you can kind of see that they kind of all look at each other like, "Oh, who's this motherfucker?" And you're like, "Okay, I get it, but that's also like high school shit. Like, let the person talk and don't just eyeball each other." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people think they don't wear their expression on their face, but a lot of people wear their expression on their face. I know I'm subject of it. I can't keep from making stupid faces when somebody says something dumb. I'm just like, I'll look at somebody and be like, "Is this motherfucker serious?" I mean, I'm the first person to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Now, do you think lasting recovery can work for somebody who is still kind of on the fence about how bad their problem was and maybe still like has those moments where they're like, man, like it would just be fun to go fucking
Oh
on
yeah.
a bender for a couple days and
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do. I do, and the reason I say that is there's a lot of people, especially at the meeting we go to, that have a lot of years clean, that think about it every single day. I mean, I talk to some of them and they're like, "Dude, I think about it all the time." And I do. I think you just have to finally come to that point where, well, first of all, you've got to give it time to stay clean for a while to see the difference of not using.
yeah.
Right? You got to see where the life goes. You got to see how things turn out and how things either get better. I mean, they're always, things are always going to get bad, but they could be a lot worse, because you could be fucked up and you could feel worse. Um, yeah, I do. I mean, I think about weed all the fucking time. I'm not gonna lie. I smell it every day at work, because people smoke here at my work, because I'm
Mm,
at a hotel. And yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'll go up to them and be like, "Hey, man, that shit smells great. I miss it." But I don't have. And I mean, yeah, of course, I'm like, shit. I'd love to take a hit, but I can't. It's just not me. It's not what I do anymore.
yeah.
And yeah, I think it can. I think it takes a lot of fucking work. I think it also takes I think it also takes a lot of having to figure out when that moment happens, how to, I guess, trick your brain into like thinking about something else or not obsessing over it.
Yeah. Cause I'm like I'm kind of in that spot right now myself, like today's my birthday. I'd be lying if I didn't say last night I was like, I should get a fucking bag tomorrow and have a
Yeah.
good time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
But I don't want to do that, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Like the urge comes up and it's like, oh yeah, that'd be fun. But kind of like what we were talking about I think it was before we went live, or maybe it was at the beginning, but like playing the tape through, like it's just not like, sure, I could get high tonight and have fun for 12 hours, but then like that 12 hours is going to go by like that. And then your bag's going to be gone and you're going to be crashing hard and you're going to be fucking depressed for 2 days. Like it's just not worth it. But
Yeah.
yeah. And I guess like, and the reason I ask you that question, and I'm just sharing openly right now, is like sometimes I'm afraid that recovery won't work for me because I still have those, or even that I'm kind of like an imposter in the room, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because I still have those moments where I'm like, it would be really fun to stay up all night doing coke right now,
Right. You're
you
not the
know.
only one in the room that's thinking that, though. I can promise you.
Uh,
You're not the only one that has those thoughts.
well, I'm glad.
Even people that are 15, 20 years deep, like there's definitely people that 100% would go and do that if they weren't in a, you know what I mean? Like, and the other thing is the people around you in recovery. The other thing I would say is definitely if you don't have a sponsor, get one.
I got one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Is
Mark.
this, yeah, Mark's great. And the
Yeah,
best part
he's
about
cool.
Mark is you can talk to him anytime. Mark's easy going, but Mark will cut through bullshit.
Yeah,
And Mark
I've
doesn't
I've
Mark
noticed that already, and I like
yeah,
that about him.
Mark does not play around. And I mean Mark's a living testament. I mean he started getting clean about the age you are, 35. And yeah, I mean I heard his story recently, and I've heard it a bunch because I've become pretty good buddies with him, and we talk a lot. And but that's one of those things that like if you have that thought process, call him, shoot him a text, be like, hey man, I'm thinking about this. Dude is never gonna judge you for that. Dude's never gonna like berate you for it. He's gonna be like, all right, well let's talk about it. And that support there is what's really key, because if you don't have that person or a couple people you can call just at pretty much any time,
Mhm.
or at least reach out to, that's where it'll happen. And that's where a lot of the people, especially the meeting we go to, they're all really tight knit friends. They hang out outside of meetings. They do holidays together. Um, Mark had a Friendsgiving actually, what, like a week before Thanksgiving, and he invited some people from the meeting, but not everybody because he didn't know everybody, that well. And me and like two of the girls outside of everybody who's been at that meeting for a long time got to go. It was out in Owasso and at his house, and I mean it was super
Mhm.
cool. Everybody there was sober. Everybody there, I mean, it was pretty much everybody from NA. I knew pretty much everybody there just because of the meeting, and
Yeah.
it was really cool. I mean, we got there at, it was at like 5:30. I didn't end up leaving their house till 9:45 because we just sat around and talked for like 3 hours about just stuff. And
Yeah.
they talked about NA, how they met each other because they're a couple that met in NA. But yeah, I mean, and it was really good to just sit around and honestly have a sober conversation. And I told them too, I was like, I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. This is the first holiday party I've been to at someone's house where I wasn't fucked up. We were all just getting smashed. I was like, I'm normally like, I told his wife, I was like, she goes, oh, you brought flowers. I'm like, well, normally I bring wine, but I can't do that here. So I brought them flowers for their house because you don't show up empty handed to somebody's house.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, thanks. And I was like, yeah, I normally bring a 12 pack of beer and some wine, and I can't do that. So,
Yeah.
or I'd bring the sack of weed or whatever, or an 8 ball or, whatever it was. But, yeah, I think especially if you're still dealing with that, I think Mark is a really good one, and be honest about the fact that you're still thinking that way. And, he'll have some methods on how to deal with it because trust me, Mark went through the same thing. And I mean, Mark will say it before too. He's like, his life is so good these days now that there's nothing that could get him to do it. But he'd be lying to you if it didn't enter his mind.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them there that say that, that I love my life today, but I know where it would go if I did it again, and that's why they don't. But they'd be lying to you if they said they don't think about it. Probably on a close to daily, if not hourly basis.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, it's tough because, especially cocaine. I remember when I did it a lot, and it was one of those things where you hadn't done it in a while, and you're like, man, it'd be good to get an 8-ball and just fuck off for 2 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, I do.
yeah, it'd be great to corner your buddy in a bathroom and be like, let's start a business.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, hey, I started a band on it.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that. I mean, we technically started a business in a bathroom at TU, so and we did, 3 of us, so, you know.
This is my mom. She says, I've been clean off dope for 30 years, and those rogue thoughts still hit me every once in a while.
Yep. Anybody who's been there, and especially done pretty hardcore stuff like cocaine or any of that, that feeling will never leave you. Like it, I knew guys that had been off it for 30 years. And I mean, they still drank and did other stuff, but they hadn't done coke for a long time. And they were like, dude, I could still taste it in my mouth like 30 years later, and I haven't touched it. Yeah. So it's just, it's one of those ones that when it gets you, you know, it just does.
Whenever I go to the gas station and I get a whiff of the gasoline, I'm just like,
And I love the smell of gas myself too. So
I know.
If it wasn't so bad for your brain, I'd probably smell it all the time. I'm not gonna lie. So.
Alrighty. Well, we're at an hour and 40 minutes, and I think this will probably be a good place to call it. But
yeah,
dude, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to do this. Hey, this is our first time hanging out outside of a meeting.
That's right.
That's right. Are you going to be there tomorrow?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 It's Group C. Plus, I'm the only one with the key to the building right now. So,
okay.
I'm kind of fucked up, made myself important. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. I pretty much go all the time. I rarely ever miss that meeting. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I'll be there. Cool. So, yeah, everybody, we got 3 people watching right now. We had 7 at one point.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, everybody who tuned in, thank you. Everybody who's watching right now, thank you. I know my mom's watching. Thank you for tuning in, Mom. I love you. Thank you for pushing me out 35 years ago. But yeah, so I'm gonna close up with some music like I always do. If you need to take off, feel free to take off.
Okay.
If you want to hang out for a few minutes, just hang tight.
Cool. Happy birthday again, too.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And 2, thanks for the advice, gentlemen. Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, man.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you coming to this first stream on my new channel. So I think it'll be a good one. Alrighty. So with that, oh, by the way, what did you think of the intro song? Did you listen to it?
I couldn't hear it.
Oh, you couldn't hear it?
Uh-uh.
So I did, love you too, Mom. I use this AI app that makes songs.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show the songs to you tomorrow, but I put in there one of the, because you can choose the lyrics, like you can type out lyrics and it'll sing them for you.
Right.
And the pre-chorus goes, with every breath I'll stay free from jails, institutions, and death. And then
nice.
and then the chorus goes, no more weed. No, here I'll play it right now. Just one sec. Hold on.
Heck yeah.
Just listen for a sec. Okay, ready?
No.
Oh man. Okay, never mind. I'll show it to you tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys. So we're going to call it here. I hope you all have a good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will do this again soon.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Shadow people in the corner of my eye. Endless lines are piled to the sky. Another night in my own trap. I've done it again, I've built my own prison. I'll still be going when the sun has risen. Yeah, cocaine nights not for the faint of heart. I wish I knew I'd never start. Sunrise with the birds again. My own prison, my isolation day. There's a straw in my pocket, a baggie on the floor, carpet surfing when I need some more. Call the plug at 3 a.m. They don't answer. I'm lost again. I've done it again. I've built my own prison. I'll still be going when the sun has risen. Yeah, yeah. Cocaine nights not for the faint of heart. I wish I knew I'd never start. Sunrise with the birds again. My own prison, my isolation day. Cocaine nights not for the faint of heart. I wish I knew